So today's gonna be another busy day. The last couple days, everything has happened all at once. It's been very hectic. We've had a lot of problems this week, and today's probably gonna be no different. So we got a feed delivery today, and some of it's gonna go in this wagon, and there's a hole in here. So I need to get that fixed first thing because I have no idea when the feed's gonna be delivered. I suspect it'll be this afternoon, but in case it's earlier, I just need to get this done first. So this week, one of our dairy cows, Lucy, became sick, and we just can't seem to get a vet to ever come out to our property. So we had to go to a vet and get medicine, and we have been giving her shots, trying to keep her alive to see if we can beat this thing that she has. So I'm gonna check on her real quick. And yesterday we had a storm. We got limbs down. That's just a small one. We got limbs down all over the property. They're gonna eventually need to be cleaned up as well. And we were out here yesterday in the rain giving Lucy shots, and it has just been a stressful week this week, that is for sure. So I think Lucy has listeria, which is kind of like a food poisoning. I think she maybe ate something that she shouldn't have. The vet seems to think it's some kind of polio. The treatment we're giving her basically will treat both. And she doesn't look very good. And she's not very coordinated. She can hardly walk real well. So let's go look at her. So here's Lucy. This side of her face, almost like she has a stroke. Her ears dropped and her eyes droopy. So, and she only turns to the right side. She's only turning in right-hand circles, and she's constantly drooling. So we're giving her antibiotics, total of 3 different medicines we're giving her. And we got to do that twice daily for the first few days. But she's still standing up. She's still with us. So this has been going on for 2 days now. Hey, sweetheart. So a lot of this is new to us, having a sick cow. The first time we had steers, we had to give them shots. And it's a very stressful situation when you're not used to giving a big animal some kind of a treatment. Now, luckily, we have a new head chute that we had bought. We've got this Lakeland Farm and Ranch squeeze chute that we bought. It's not, and we were able to move it over here with the tractor and set it down. So the last 2 days, yesterday and today, we have been putting her in this squeeze chute to give her the shots. The first night that it happened, we ended up just putting a halter on her, and we just tied her to the fence post right here, and we gave her the shots just being tied to a fence post. But it's definitely been very stressful because we're not vets and we can't get one to come out. So it's just, it's kind of a guessing game, and we're kind of on our own through this. You know, we can get a vet to give us medicine to prescribe to her, but we really can't get one to come here. Now, there is a vet that we could take her to and have to drive her about an hour away, but the problem with that is she's unsteady on her feet. She's very, very unsteady. I don't think she could take the ride. I think the ride would stress her out as well. So I'd be worried about just transporting her, honestly. So hopefully we can get her back up to health. She's not getting any worse. It doesn't seem like she's getting any worse, but that's one of the things we're dealing with that's caused this week to be very hectic. So on this Gravity Wagon, probably gonna cut out a strip along here and weld in a new piece and get that hole patched up. You can see all the leaves and stuff piled around the garage. I mean, we have leaves everywhere from that storm yesterday. So the solar power system we have has a feature. When you get severe weather, it charges the battery up in case you have a power outage. And it did that yesterday. It charged the battery up. We actually only lost power for maybe a few, like 5-10 seconds. I think that's all we had. We had several flickers, but we never lost power, but several people did. In fact, the hospital that Rebecca works at, they are still out of power today, running on generators, and that's where she's at right now. She's at work today, had to go in extra. But yeah, there is several people. My in-laws are out of power. One of our sons is out of power. Everything to the north of us got hit fairly bad. So the end of last week, I did a welding job on one of my trailers. It's kind of a rush job. I ended up leaving the gas bottle on. It was about half empty, but after I left it on, it drained it all the way, so I had to go get a whole new gas bottle. I don't know if I've ever had one of these stuck on so bad I couldn't get it off. Huh. That's interesting. No, 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 no. I hit the knob in there. Started leaking off. Give me a pipe wrench. Oh, how in the heck does the cap not want to come loose? It's like somebody, recently painted it. It was only on by like a thread. Somebody cross-threaded it. Put it on wrong. Okay, there we go. All right, I got the bad metal cut out of the Gravity Wagon. So the hardest place was right here. It was brazed, and that was a lot thicker, just a lot harder to cut through. So now I'm just gonna clean this up with a wire wheel, try to shine up some metal so that it's easier to weld this back together. Oh, battery runs out right at the end. Time to fit test this. Yep, it's about the right width in the middle. It just overlaps a little bit on the sides. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna work. All right, I've got the plate welded in. It is very ugly, not pretty. It kept blowing holes through some of the bad metal, and then you'd have to build it up. But it's all in and fully welded, so I'm just gonna grind it a little bit flatter and spray paint it real quick. All right, I got the hole in the grain wagon is all patched up, and now I'm just gonna take this out there. I'm gonna get both grain carts in the correct position where it's easier for them to unload the feed. And then we'll come back here. I'll show you what I ended up winning at the auction the other day. I bid on several things, but I only ended up winning 2. Go ahead and put a piece of firewood behind each one of these rear wheels. Keep it from moving when we fill it up. I think we're good to go. Here's the piggies. They're doing good, aren't you? You guys love it. We got 1.5 inches of rain in that storm yesterday, and their wallows all filled up. They've all been taking a swim, haven't you? Yes. So like I said earlier, we did have some tree limbs fall down. We had a tree, this wasn't a very big tree, but we had one fall on the pig pen fence, and I was able to push that out of the way. It's still connected You know how it's like it broke, but it's still connected to the tree trunk. I was able to push that out of the way. It'll be difficult to get back in there and get that one. We had about 3 or 4 limbs fall on the goat pen fence, and we were able to get those off and lay them off to the side. But there's still, you know, a lot of limbs around here that I'm going to have to eventually get out and get picked up. But let's go back and see what I ended up winning at the auction. So the first thing I won was some pallet fork extensions. I was really wanting some that were 7 or 8 feet long, but I wasn't gonna bid over like $100 for them, because you can buy a set, I think, and have them shipped to your house for about $200. And it was crazy. Everything went high in the auction. Most of the pallet fork extensions went between $100 and $140. So these are a pair of 6-foot ones. I really wanted a set that was, you know, longer than that. I got these for $70. So I don't think that's terrible, I guess. They are fairly big pallet fork extensions. I think they're probably 5.5 inches wide, maybe 6 inches wide. So these look like about 3/16 metal, and it's just bent in the shape of a U, right? And then on the back, they weld a piece of metal just so it kind of hooks on around the back of your forks. And of course they taper the front of it. Fairly simple. I think a guy could make these fairly simply. So once they're on your forks, the piece on the back keeps them from sliding off. Now they will slide side to side and in and out a little bit. They got probably at least 3 inches of play back and forth, but they will help you reach a little bit farther. The good thing about them is you can reach across a trailer to the other side, or if you're trying to go into the back of a trailer, you can put stuff farther into the back of a trailer, like a box trailer or just from the back side of the trailer. So of course these aren't going to be very heavy duty, so you're only going to want to use these on loads that are probably fairly light, just large and bulky maybe, or somewhere where you want to reach a little bit farther, but you're not going to want to use them on heavy loads. But I do think they're going to end up coming in handy from time to time. So I ended up paying $300 for this 20 kW generator. If you go buy a brand new one, like that runs on propane or natural gas, that's a whole home generator is what that is. You're gonna spend $5,000 to $6,000 just for the generator, not even the installation. So if I could get this for $300, that is a win. I could power everything up here, no problem. I just gotta run it off the tractor. So anyway, first time I powered it up really slowly. Just wanted to make sure everything worked good. And I probably had it idle for a few minutes, and then I revved it up and it didn't work. Turns out you can't just let them idle. You have to speed them up fairly quickly, and then they'll generate voltage. So when I started it the second time and I sped it up the proper way, I sped it up immediately, everything worked fine. So this does work. It puts out 200 and around 230 volts, and it puts out 115 volts AC, and this can power everything here at the house and the workshop if I need it to. So I had someone ask me, why buy a generator if I just went solar? Well, solar's great as long as there is sun, and if you had a storm and the power outage was for days, kind of like what's going on now, luckily not here, but other places around us, there's a possibility that the batteries, if it stayed cloudy for the next day or so, the batteries may not charge up. So then you can hook a generator up to it, charge the batteries back up. And the generator I have is not big enough to work with our solar power system. It's 5,500 watts, and I needed at least 7,600 watts to be able to hook to our solar power system. So I knew I needed a bigger generator, and this definitely solves that problem. So other things at the auction I looked at and didn't win. One was a 5-foot Land Pride rotary cutter or bush hog for the back of the 24 horsepower tractor. I bid up to 700 on it. It ended up going for 1400, and I thought that was just a little bit too much to bid at an auction for a used piece of equipment that you are gambling whether the gearbox or anything's all good on it. The other thing was there was one of the John Deere square balers, twine. I was looking at it. It ended up going for like $2,100. So it ended up going more than what I was willing to pay for it. I also bid on a few fuel tanks. The big 500-gallon tank ended up going, I think, for about $600. That was more than I was willing to pay for it. And then the smaller 300-gallon that was missing a stand and everything, looked really rough shape. It's really exactly like the one I have here, except I have the stand for mine. It ended up, I don't remember what it went for, but it was more than what I was going to bid on it. So I only ended up getting the two things. I did feel like everything at that auction ended up kind of going high. So sometimes that's just the way it is. All right, feed trucks here. All right, putting hog feed in this one. It's almost filled up. This one's definitely full of the steer feed. All right, feed truck's leaving. We ended up getting 10 bags of sheep feed. This is some Kent sheep feed. They couldn't actually mix this at the mill. They said everything that they make has like copper added to it in the minerals, and sheep can't take copper, so they didn't want to mix it in the mill because they were afraid that they would contaminate the feed with too much copper for the sheep. So they didn't want to make any sheep feed in their mill since their minerals and stuff have copper in them. So anyway, but these two right here, we've got, this one's full, 3 tons of feed for the steers, and then this one has 2 tons of feed for the pigs. So now all I gotta do is get these tarped, and I gotta put these in the shed. That way I don't get any rain or weather on them whatsoever, and hopefully we have better luck this year storing our feed in these grain carts. Well, it's the next day now, and we got another storm last night, and we ended up getting about 3, I don't know if you can see that, about 3 2/10 maybe, or at least 3 1/10 inches just last night. So that is crazy how much rain we're getting. And you might be able to hear thunder in the background. We are about to get hit again tonight. So last night we were able to get the feed wagons tarped and inside the barn. We got one here and we got one over there on that side. And then we ended up putting the sheep feed in, we have that feed storage box that we made a few years ago. We got that inside of that box and locked up, and we've never had any mice or anything get to the feed in there, so it should be stored perfectly fine. So the last 4 days have been very stressful for me and Rebecca, with Lucy being sick, and we have tried our best to do everything we can. We have gave her shots twice a day. We ended up drenching her to try to get electrolytes and nutrients in her body. We have just done everything we can think of. And she ended up getting down on us yesterday twice. And we were able to get her back up both times. It took a lot of work, but we were able to get her back up on her feet. And today, after we gave her well, when we went to go give her shots this morning, she got down on us again. And we have not been able to get her up. Well, we did get her up. We got her up, and she was up for a little while, and then she went down. And we have not been able to get her up since. And we have worked very hard at trying to get her so that she's not down on her side, but she has no energy left. So everything looks like that it is truly what the vet thought it was. It was the polio. I wish I could explain it better, but it seems to be a sulfur toxicity. It happens in the summertime. Most of the time in the summertime, when they drink lots of water, they absorb the sulfur from the water, and the more water they drink, the more sulfur they get in. Some animals get it or affected more than others. It can be by other sources too, feed, protein tubs, other things. but it does seem to be the polio, because her neck is actually wants to twist completely 180 degrees around and face backwards. And she's been blind in the one side and paralysis on her left side, where she can't, her eyes droopy, her ears droopy, and she hasn't ate for 4 days. So she's just wasting away because she can't, with that paralysis and everything that's going on, she can't feed. So the only thing she has been able to do is drink water out of the water troughs. Now that she's down on the ground, the only thing we can do is to drench her to try to keep her hydrated, but she's not getting back up. So this has been a pretty rough 4 days. Pretty rough, you know, like hard lessons learned. I don't know if there's, I mean, really anything else we can do for her, but she is down right now. Me and Rebecca have went and got cleaned up. Of course, we were totally filthy wrestling around with her in the mud and the dirt, you know, just trying to get her up. And now we're just trying to make sure she's somewhat comfortable. So it does not look like Lucy, our milk cow, our second milk cow, will end up surviving very much longer. So pretty rough 4 days. Definitely, I think we learned a lot the hard way. Definitely we'll probably do things differently a little bit next time, maybe a little quicker reaction, maybe a little bit more meds. We did a lot of reading on the internet, you know, and we tried to administer some meds before we could get to the vet. And the meds we had administered, of course, was not as much as the vet said we needed to. So we didn't go probably as much that first night, and probably didn't give as many things as we should have the first night. But, you know, you just don't know what to do. You know, I mean, when you can't get a vet to come out to your place, I mean, we weren't going to get one that night anyway, you know. But we were out here, that first night, we were out here till like 10 o'clock at night messing with her. And it's been about that same way every day, you know, getting up at 5:30, being out here, giving the morning shots, messing with her. But it does, I mean, anyway, prognosis doesn't look good. More than likely, I'll be hooking up a backhoe to the tractor, and I'll be digging a grave for a milk cow here tomorrow or the next day. But tomorrow's our anniversary, our wedding anniversary tomorrow. And this is definitely going to be an anniversary to remember. So anyway, very stressful day. Now our storm's coming in, our next storm for the night. Rebecca's family, her parents have power. Our son still doesn't have power. We ran the solar generators up to him so at least he can power his fridge and cook some food. But yeah, it's just been a heck of a weekend, everything going on at once. So if you guys have messaged us, or if you notice we haven't been commenting on videos, that's the reason why. It's been a pretty rough last 4 days. So I'm sure in the next video I'll let you know exactly what happens. We haven't filmed any of this. Hopefully you guys understand. I mean, it's a very stressful situation. We're doing our best to try to keep her alive. And we weren't going to film any of that. We're focusing on Lucy. So anyway, kind of a sad ending to a video. The prognosis does not look good. So anyway, keep us in your thoughts and prayers. We'll see you in the next one.